So, you want to visit your favorite website. Maybe it's YouTube or Wikipedia, or that one site with all the cat pictures. You open your web browser, you type in a name like google.com, and like magic, the page appears. But how does your computer, this machine that only really understands long strings of numbers, know where to find google.com out there in the vast, sprawling network we call the internet? The answer is a system that works silently in the background, a system so fundamental to our online lives that we almost never think about it. It's called the Domain Name System, or DNS for short. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most important inventions you've probably never heard of. Think of DNS as the internet's giant, constantly updated, super-fast address book. Or maybe a better analogy is a universal translator. Computers don't navigate the internet using human-friendly names like scishow.com. Instead, they use numerical addresses called IP addresses, which look something like 172.67.153.68. Now just imagine if you had to remember that long string of numbers for every single website you wanted to visit. It would be impossible, right? DNS saves us from this nightmare by translating the memorable domain names we type into the IP addresses that computers need. This translation service is what makes the internet usable for us humans. When you type in a web address, you are essentially asking DNS, "Hey, can you give me the phone number for this place?" And in a fraction of a second, DNS looks it up and connects you. So, how does this lookup process actually work? It's a bit like a detective story where your computer has to follow a series of clues to find the right IP address. It all starts the moment you press enter after typing a domain name into your browser. The first thing your browser does is ask your computer's operating system, "Hey, do you happen to know the IP address for wikipedia.org?" Your computer then checks its own little list, a local cache, to see if it has visited recently. If it has, great, the journey ends there. But most of the time, especially for a new site, your computer doesn't know the answer, so it has to ask for help. This is where the first character in our detective story comes in, the DNS resolver. This is a special server, usually run by your internet service provider like Comcast or Verizon. The resolver is a specialist in this kind of investigation. It has its own cache, a much bigger one, and if it's a popular site that someone else on your network has visited recently, the resolver might have the answer ready. But what if the resolver doesn't know either? This is where the real detective work begins. The resolver now has to start asking the big guys. Its first stop is one of the 13 sets of root servers in the world. The resolver doesn't ask the root server for the full IP address. Instead, it asks a simpler question. "Hey, can you tell me where to find the servers that handle all the .org domains?" The root server, which knows the location of all the top-level domain, or TLD servers, replies with the address of the TLD server responsible for .org. Now armed with a new clue, the resolver goes to the TLD server for .org and asks its next question. "Okay, you're in charge of .org domains. Where can I find the specific server that knows all about wikipedia.org?" The resolver makes one last trip, asks the authoritative server for the IP address, gets the definitive answer, and finally sends it back to your computer. Your computer can now connect to the website, and the whole amazing journey is complete in milliseconds. The DNS address book doesn't just store one type of information. It holds a variety of different records, each serving a unique purpose. Think of it less like a simple address book and more like a detailed contact card for a domain. The most common and fundamental type of record is the A record,